The best of money matters. Right Business.
Welcome to The Right Business, where we dive deep into the stories of trailblazers who dare to disrupt the status quo, find the gap in the market to find the right business. Hello, I'm Hongbin Jeong. Now, the renovation industry has long been filled with challenges, lack of transparency, overwhelming choices, and the struggle to find the right designer. While many platforms claim to simplify the process, few truly understand the needs of homeowners. Enter SIXiDES, Singapore's first renovation platform built by an interior designer. Founded by Astley Ng, SIXiDES leverages AI and technology to make renovations smoother, smarter, and more accessible for everyone. With over 30 years of experience, Astley is redefining how homeowners and designers connect, ensuring that design goes beyond aesthetics to serve real functional needs. And joining us today to share more about this platform is Astley Ng, who is the CEO and founder of SIXiDES. Hi, Astley. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, Hongbin. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to join.
All right, Astley, your journey into interior design took a profound turn after working with a legally blind client. Could you share more about this? And before launching SIXiDES, were there any gaps in the interior design industry that led you to create a more inclusive and intuitive approach?
That story actually happened very early in my career, sometime I think 24, 25 years ago. And a blind person actually walked into the showroom and started sharing that he wanted to look for a renovator for his home. And to me, obviously, that was very puzzling because at that point in time, my understanding of interior design was very visual, very aesthetics. And the man came with a walking, the white cane. And so that kind of took me by surprise. And after some, discussion, he started asking me, he said, you probably think that my wife is blind as well, right? Or maybe I'm not married. And then I started, it dawned into me that I stereotyped that maybe a blind person may have a blind wife as well. But through the discussion, I realized that actually his wife is not blind. And there are certain specific needs that he needs for his home. And one that may become visually affected if he doesn't get an interior designer. So he told me that certain parts of the house he needs to have different type of floorings every few meters. At first I thought it was for wayfinding, but eventually it turned out that it was for him to know where things drop. So different type of tiles will make different type of sounds. Ooh. So if a coin drops onto ceramic tiles, there will be a clang, right? And if it lands on laminate or vinyl flooring, there will be a thud. So then it really dawned onto me that the true value of what an interior designer should be was to have this very, very deep empathy towards the users. And here was a blind person who educated me that, there are a lot of things that we share in similarity. He says he comes back home, he removes the keys from his pocket, he has a habit of removing his wedding ring, and he puts them into the side cabinet, the shoe cabinet, and there are times when it drops. And that's where this hearing thing became a very important part of the design. And they say he doesn't want it to look like, patchwork, so that's where an interior designer comes in. And to at least mitigate that portion. And that's why I learned that empathy is a truly important remit that interior designer should have.
I see. So how did it, this happened earlier in your career, but how did it lead you to launch SIXiDES?
I think with that, it becomes a very deep understanding of what homeowners or users are really going through. And I think at some point you start to play with the word experiences. Like designing is not just about aesthetics, it's about building experiences. And of course, the industry has got really, really bad experiences. And it wasn't until COVID that I decided to pivot. I was mostly doing commercial projects. And when COVID hit and a lot of the commercial projects were affected, but the residential jobs kept coming in, and I had multiple inquiries, and then it made me realize that firstly, it's COVID-proof. Then secondly, during my period as a council member of the Society of Interior Designers Singapore, I had a privilege to see the industry from a macro perspective. And with that macro perspective as well as my understanding of homeowners and all that, I realized that there's still a huge gap. Even with associations, they play the role more like taking care of the industry, not so much of the consumer. So I know that there's this voice that's just waiting to be heard. And then at the same time, a lot of people are saying that the industry is filled with people who are not qualified. It's a very low barrier to entry. And with some research, I realized that all the existing incumbent platforms are also founded by non-designers,
right.
which really, brings back to the point that even the platforms that are representing the voices are also not run by legitimate interior designers. So the calling came and I decided to start the business.
I see. So let's talk more about SIXiDES and how it works. Could you walk us through what a user would go through when we use SIXiDES and what are some of the biggest features?
So again, with that understanding that homeowners, through the many years of connecting with them, we realized that majority of them do not know design. Majority will probably know visuals. They will see certain things that they like, but they don't know the reason why. They wouldn't know how to break down the elements, but they definitely know one thing, which is the amount of money they have in the bank or the lack thereof. And so that became like the catalyst to start discussion. How much would typically a certain look cost? So the way that we wanted to build this was to make it as easy to understand, layperson-ish as possible. So if they can have a visual and they have an idea of or rather they have the postal code, it's as simple as that. Type in the postal code and our AI would know which part of Singapore it is. We will know the age of the building. We would know the typography. We would know the ranges, the different type of layouts, and then answer a few simple lifestyle questions and upload an image of what you think you want your home to look like. And with that, our calculation metrics at the back would do all the piecing together. And within seconds, you can quite literally get the ballpark figure out. So that's something that we did. And over time, we've honed that even further by allowing homeowners to upload their site photos as well. And then we could do an AI 3D generated render. That's going to be launched at the end of this month.
I see.
So you can see how it's going to look like and how much things will be costing.
All right. Well, you've mentioned AI there, and I mean, you've integrated AI-driven technology into this platform. So how does the AI-powered recommendation system work, and what makes it more accurate or reliable compared to, say, conventional matching methods?
Well, there's actually 3 filtration processes that we have with the users. Firstly is the series of questions. Then, of course, we have some authentication that they have to do, which is the OTP, the mobile OTP, and so on and so forth. The last part is actually where we have a one-to-one with the homeowners. If they manage to pick up our phone call or they answer our text, right, that's where we would ask them strategic questions, more in tune to what we feed to our machine. And in that machine, it will learn the typography of the homeowner. We kind of classify them like the Mercedes-Benz car. You've got A class, C class, E class, and S class. So the ideal is to match an A class homeowner with an A class ID. So you won't have that kind of situations whereby you are mismatching homeowners as well as designers. That's where the first part of the problem usually is. And usually that's where budget, expectations, and of course, even in terms of understanding of finishes and so on and so forth. Give you an idea, the first-time homeowner, we will classify them as dream home aspirant. And these are usually, or rather these kind of homeowners are usually swayed by emotions because it's their first home. So the likelihood is to kind of pair them up with an A-class and a C-class kind of ID so that they would be offering that emotional kind of comfort and at the same time be logical and be able to educate and counsel the homeowners as they progress.
Okay, I see. Well, you also have a 3D rendering and project management tools integrated. How do they work and how do they enhance the renovation experience for homeowners?
So like I mentioned, the AI 3D rendering is something that will be launched end of this month. And it's essentially to help homeowners visualize. So you go to any part of the house that you are, buying or renovating, and you can just take a snapshot, upload into our feature, and then choose the design theme that you want, the specific area that you want in the house, and then after that, set it to render, and you will render. And then once you're ready and you're happy with that look, you can ask it to code, which is where the e-code, which is our AI e-code comes in. The project management part is actually, again, it's a no-brainer. If we really want to be a true platform in comparison to the Lazada, your Shopee, is this element of predictability. If you place an order in Lazada or Shopee, you know when you're going to get your goods. You may even have a suitable legal recourse if something goes wrong. And I think that's important if we are to establish ourselves as a proper, legitimate platform for renovation, is to provide that as well. So the project management tool comes in really handy, right? So once you appoint the designer, our job begins. It doesn't end like I'm trying to match you just the designer. We'll match you the designer, embark on the journey with us. We will build the audit trail with you so that in the event there's a need for arbitration, there's a universal standard created by us and all the data is stored there. the grand scheme of things is that, of course, with Singapore churning out about almost 5 billion worth of total addressable market in terms of apartment residential renovation, that's a really big sum. That also means a large amount of data is actually being churned out all the time, but no entity has collected their data. So with that, SIXiDES hopes that we can be in a position to at least aggregate and be able to have a proportionate study of that data. And in time, maybe even use that to address issues like health and wellness in spaces, wastages, renovation wastages, and that addresses sustainability in the long run as well.
I see. Well, speaking of costs and quotes here, I mean, the interior design industry, is often criticized for hitting costs and lack of transparency. So how does SIXiDES ensure that clients receive honest and upfront pricing?
I think reality is that there is an abuse of certain amount of trust. And I'm trying to be accurate here. In all business, right, sometimes if you know exactly what goes into everything, you may not sign on the dotted line. And in the process of going through the renovation quotes and all that, sometimes and to be perfectly honest here, if we tell you exactly and we over-plan and we, think of all the blind spots and put into quotation, we rule ourselves out of the competition. The reality is that homeowners are not all educated. They are swayed by the bottom line, which is if A company gives me a 30 grand, the next guy gives me a 50 grand. And the next guy says, the reason why 50 grand is because I overthink it and I gave you all this and I overplan it. But of course, there's a likelihood that you don't go for all this. It's good to cut off. The reality is at that starting point, most homeowners do not accept that. They will think that, you're not even qualifying yourself for the job. You overprice yourself. But as reality has proven, when the renovation project progresses, there are a lot of hidden things. And that's where you look back and say, hey, party B actually did talk about all this, but we didn't accept them.
Right.
So there's this part where the homeowners needs to be educated. So we spend a lot of time building content and we put them on our website for homeowners to, at the very least, understand that. And that's the first part, to manage the expectation. At the same time, we look at how we can address the IDs. Don't be so kiasu lah, there's two ways to kind of look at this thing. You can sell, but at the same time, try to tell them the consequences as well. And I think we're getting there because the sophistry and, with all that social media, homeowners are wising up. The next part is actually to get the IDs to catch up, to reach that level. And that's where we realize that we also need to fill that gap. So we partnered with local universities to curate courses.
I see. Well, but beyond individual homes, you've also extended your work into community projects as well. Can you tell us more about your collaboration with the People's Association to install grab bars for the elderly, and what other community-driven design initiatives are you currently working on or planning?
So the first one is actually the grab bar project. We call it 靠我吧 for Chinese. And it's for the elderly folks staying in those rental one-room flats.
Right.
And we realized that actually HDB has done, not just HDB, I think the government has certain agencies that actually provide that service where they install the grab bars in the bathrooms. But if you think about it, the people who need assistance in the bathroom probably need assistance in different parts of the house as well. And so I give you a scenario, right? If you are a stroke victim, some part of your body is immobilized. If you're trying to get off your bed, there is a need for a grab bar either at the side of your bed or just directly above, pull yourself up. And what about if you're at home? If you're amputee, would you prefer to be hobbling and relying on the furniture, or you will be using the crutches? And what we have observed is that the people who are at home really, they don't want to hold the crutches. They don't even want to be in the wheelchair. So they started hobbling, and when they are hobbling, it's really dangerous. So we decided to go out and get sponsors to, give us the grab bars. Then the next thing we did was we actually organized all the designers that were listed on our platform to do the installation process. This was done, in fact, in the midst of COVID. So we were putting on PPE, then we were going all out on this Sunday afternoon, and we installed 800 over grab bars in the afternoon. It was like a very good Christmas gift to everyone.
Amazing.
But again, this was this thing about empathy and the remit of a designer. And I didn't want to just, give money. And I felt that if we're really going to do something good with a good social cause, then we should use our skill set.
I see. Well, you talked about how later this month you've got the 3D rendering for your platform, but what else is next for SIXiDES? Are there any other features or plans in development that will further enhance the platform's capabilities?
I mentioned about the project management tool. It's not available yet. We're going through a lot of testing, and we're trying to make sure that the homeowner as well as the IDs are willing participants. We're willing to share the progress of the job site and have us, in the middle aggregating all the information. So that's something that we are, testing, and hopefully we can launch that by the end of the year. And with that, that will probably be the only platform that, take care of the homeowner's total experience from the research right down to the renovation.
Wow.
And who knows, maybe down the line we can think about post-renovation stuff. There's always a lot of things that you could do to, maintain the home, like aircon servicing, pest control, so on and so forth.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Astley, for joining me today. That was Astley Ng, who is the CEO and founder of SIXiDES. This has been The Right Business with me, Hongbin Jeong.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.